Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life, your business, your health, fitness, body and mindset from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. One of the things that I've learnt as I get older each day is if I want to get the most out of my life, I need to become a better manager of myself. I need to have better communication with myself. I need to watch the words that I use. I need to make sure that I have a plan for each day to do all the things that I want to achieve. I need to make sure that I'm looking after my body. I look after my food, my exercise, my supplementation, my health checks, as we talked about yesterday. All of those aspects are just so important. And managing ourselves is a real art because we're not good at it when we first start out on this planet. We're just not good at it. And then as we go through life, we have all these other elements that are thrown in. We go to school, we then go to a high grade school, and then we go to a university, and then we go to a job, and obviously I'm generalizing here. We get into relationships, we have children, and then all of a sudden we've got this really complicated life around us where we're managing other people, we're managing ourselves, we're communicating with our partners, we're managing our children, and there's a lot of aspects that can go wrong. Like to have a great day and have all of the planets line up at once, man, I reckon if you can have 20, 30, 40 of those a year, then you're doing pretty well because there are so many aspects that don't often go our way. And so one of the things that I learn as my two girls get older is that there are different challenges every day, different levels of communication, different types of communication, different issues that they may be going through. Some of them are school related, some of them are just how they feel about themselves, what they're going through. I mean, man, you've been a teenager yourself. You know what it's like to go through those years. You know what it's like to be in your body, in your place in life right now. You know your pathway to get there, and you know how challenging that can be and how challenging maybe this next 12 months will be, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, if I just look at where we are right now, at the time of recording this, we've had a couple of more cases come out of our hotel quarantine of workers that are working in those situations that have got COVID. Now, why have they got COVID? Well, it's the more contagious strain from the UK. We've got the Australian Open tennis here at the moment. All these tennis players have come out. We've got a few thousand people coming back into the country each week. We've got people leaving quarantine and finding that after the 14 days, they've still got the virus at day 16. And, there's the potential for this to just explode at any moment again and to be locked down. I mean, immediately we have restrictions put in place, numbers cut in your home, as in people cut immediately, going back to masks compulsorily, all indoors. All of these things that happen just so quickly. And it creates this management of our staff as well. Like in offices, you're not allowed to have everybody back in the office. It depends how many are there. Staff have got anxiety issues. So there's this condition that's been around for forever called agoraphobia, which is the fear of leaving home. But doctors are now finding that people are more likely to get, I don't know whether they're calling it something else, but it's the same thing. This fear of going to work now because they've been working from home for so long, they're becoming so anxious, they can't work at work. I've got clients that are telling me that they're getting phone calls from people that are saying they can't come to work, or people are really struggling, they're shaking in their office and stuff because they just can't deal with being back at work. And it's like, what is going on with our world? And it's so challenging. I mean, life can be challenging for us. But I find that if you can manage yourself well, you've got a much better chance of managing others well. If you can't manage yourself, then forget it. You are not going to manage your kids well. You're not going to manage relationships well. You're not going to any relationship. And you're not going to manage your business life, work, career, whatever it is that you're doing. You're not going to do that well either. You're certainly not going to do it at your best. So we have to become brilliant managers of ourselves, because that's the starting point. And we can control what it is that we're doing for ourselves. We can't necessarily control what's going on with other people. We can say things that we might think, this is going to have the best outcome if I give this instruction, or if I provide this inspirational discussion or whatever, and that will have that outcome. But that's what we perceive will happen. Someone else hears those words and has a completely different outcome for that. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I've got to rethink that. It's evolving all the time. I continue to work on my management of myself every single day. And I think if you have that mindset, then that's the right place to be. That means that you are always going to be focused on getting the best performance out of you, always looking for an improvement. I do that every day. And if you think about each year that you go through this life, you've probably got different goals that you want to achieve. My goals that I want to achieve this year are different from last year across all aspects of my life, really. But that comes from a decision to just be better all the time. Now, unfortunately, what I see happens in our community, in Australia as well, in the world, is that people become complacent. People don't like to change. People don't really want to improve. They'd like to get more money. They would like to get further along. They would like to become fitter. They would like to lose more fat. They would like to eat better and all that kind of stuff. But they're not prepared to do the work that's required to get the outcomes that the people that they admire that have got those things have done. They just want it. They don't want to put in the work for it. And this is such a shame, because the gift is not the end result. It's the journey to the result that changes who you are. And that's where you get the growth. And that's how you become the better manager of yourself. But unfortunately, most people won't do that. So my message here today is become a master at managing yourself. And that means mastering the communication that you use to yourself, watching the words that you use to yourself. If I go back probably 8 to 10 years, the negativity that I used to say to myself, not out loud, but that little quiet voice inside, was astounding. Like if I wrote down every time I said something negative about myself, then I would probably be blown away, because I used to do it all the time. And then I decided that that's not getting me anywhere. That's just beating you down. That's making progress, and then something happens to knock you back and you say, well, why bother trying anymore at all? Because this always happens. And making up these stories that always said, oh, you're not good enough for that. This always happens to you. You are never going to get a break. You know, those types of sob stories that say, well, you're just not good enough. But instead, the real message is, you're not working hard enough. You're not working smart enough. But I made up a different story to myself. And then I said, I'm sick and tired of telling myself those sad old stories. So I'm going to change my tune and start to become more passionate, more positive, more action orientated around the things that I wanted to achieve in my business. And that's when things started to change for me. I recorded yesterday in my Rob Evans 365 podcast series. I was talking about how my strength and conditioning coach, he likens me to some of his top elite athletes, which is a really lovely compliment. But it was in this context, saying that I think you are going to be not seeing your best for a number of years in terms of, my body, what it is that I want to achieve. And he mentioned a couple of his athletes, and he said, these athletes, they didn't hit their peak for probably 10 to 12 years. And he said, look, I don't want to put you off by thinking that you're not going to do any good until 10 to 12 years, because he said, look what you did last year and that was amazing. But he said, I think each time you do this, you're going to get better. But it's going to take you a period of time maybe before you see how you can push your body this far and get the growth that you want and achieve the things that you want to be able to achieve. So you could look at that and say, well, that's really depressing. Or you could look at that like I do and say, wow, imagine for the next 12 years, every year, still being the best version of me. And being my best at 63? It's like, wow, how impressive would that be? So I look at it that way. Now, when he was talking to me about that, I said, wow, that really makes sense, because everything that I've had to work for in my life has been really hard. Nothing has come easy. I haven't been given anything. It's been a case of working, getting a result, working harder to get the result that I wanted. And in my business life, it's probably taken me 10 years, because it's my 12th year this year. It's probably taken me 10 years to get to that position where I say, wow, I'm really content with what I've been able to achieve. I've had some great success, I've changed a lot of lives, and I'm hitting all the targets that I want to hit this year. And this month, I've hit my targets by more than 30%. So I don't have to do the things that I did in the last few years now, because now they're just happening. Okay? And I figure that's the same perhaps with my body. Even though I've been training for like 33 years, I haven't been training like the way that I am now, or eating as consistently as the way that I am now to get the results that I'm getting. So I can see that that's going to take time. And how do I view all that? I see this as part of my self-management, my self-mastery, and changing the language that I use to myself, because I could take everything that I just said to you and said, well, why bother? If it's going to take 10 years, I'm not going to bother. Why do I want to eat like this for 10 years? Why do I want to train so hard for that period of time? And I look at it and say, well, the time will pass anyway, so let's just do the best that we can with the time, the body, the resources that we've got to get the best outcome. And within all of that, I see me working on myself as such a critical component for my mental health, as well as the growth of me. I want to get up each day and say, well, I'm going to work on this today, which is going to be different, so that I can get a better outcome tomorrow. And to me, that's a step for me in mastering myself, in becoming better in all aspects of myself, because I know I can be better at that. And I then look at that opportunity and say, well, gee, if I can manage myself better, and if I can see opportunities to manage myself better, then clearly there has to be a multitude of reasons or ways that I can be a better manager of my kids, a better manager of other relationships and client relationships and business relationships and all of those things. Because if I can get better, I can pass those things on through everything else. Now, probably the toughest thing to manage is kids. I think anyone that's got teenage kids or any kids at all would agree that this is one of the trickiest, toughest areas of your life, as well as your intimate relationships. Now, I don't have one of those at the moment, so it really just comes down to the kids. And the kids will be up and down like seesaws from day to day. And it's normally one's up, the other one's down. Or sometimes they're both down. One's up and the other one brings the other one down. But that's just like what we are like too. And I would have been the same. Like after school, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't like school. I didn't see the point in it for many years until I went to uni. And so, it's tough. And so the kids go through their own journey, trying to find their space in the world and everything. And so every day I'm challenged as a dad to find the words to use to the girls so that they can feel passionate, they can feel inspired, they can feel educated, they can feel like they're growing themselves. And the greatest gift that I want to give to them is, so I guess, self-belief in knowing that they can do whatever it is that they want, but also this deep desire to grow themselves all the time and continue to work on themselves. Because at different stages in their life, they're going to go through some tough stuff, some sad stuff, some painful stuff, some things that they don't really want to go through, but they have to go through because it's just part of our life cycle and growth cycle. And I think many adults are in a position where they don't know how to deal with many of the confronting issues that are faced with them on a day-to-day basis. So if we can become a better manager of ourselves, a better manager of our words, what it is that we want. I mean, there are so many different aspects that are tied into this. It's your life's purpose. It's what you get up to do every single day. It's the goals that you set that all tie back to those things. It's how you want to impact your community, how you want to impact your relationships, how you want to impact your children. Everything ties back to you. It's like a big funnel and it all comes back to you. Or if it's going the other way, like a loudspeaker, it's from you going out because you project out what it is that you want to. And often it involves stepping outside your comfort zone because you have to do things that you don't want to do most days. But most people don't do that. Most people stay in the comfort zone and don't want to change what it is that they're doing, what it is that they're communicating, how they're communicating. And we do get stuck in this rut. And I would say for me right now, I am going through a challenge with myself to provide more time to my kids and be more with them. And also on the other side, having this tussle about, but I want to grow the business and I want to do these things. But at the same time, I'm also really content with the targets that I'm hitting. So it's in an ironic situation where I like to take time out of my business so I can work on it, so that I can, well, ultimately work on marketing, providing better products, getting more clients in. But I'm so busy at the moment reaching all my targets and exceeding my targets and getting more clients in that I don't have the time to do those things to get more clients in. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation because things are just going so well. I do believe that we're still riding this wave of post-COVID health and people just wanting to get better and better and healthier and healthier. I've got more clients than I've ever had before. I'm busier than I've ever been before, and every single day I'm picking up new people. It's a constant tussle, a constant management of yourself as to, okay, well, I just stay where I am. Do I just stay growing naturally as I am and just keep doing the things that I have been doing without doing anything new? But then in my mindset, I say, but you've got to keep growing. You've got to keep innovating. You've got to keep doing new things, keep coming up with new products. So I've got to keep doing that too. So I'm having a little bit of a tug of war at the moment with myself as to, well, do I just stop doing that for now because I'm so busy and I'm reaching all my targets? Or do I say, well, let's just blow those targets out of the water and let's just keep going further? So it's an important step in the management of me. But what I'm seeing with my children as well is even when they are having challenges, when they're learning that, talking about issues that they may have, whether it's homework or more personal issues or whatever, that if they see it as working on themselves, well, I'm starting to see it, that they can see that it's working on themselves and that feels good. And it's also like I'm teaching them about exercise, I'm teaching them about food. And when they understand that, well, yeah, this feels good and this is working on me, then all of that feels good. So that self-management is just so important at any age. But I think if you've never done it before, or you want to get better at managing it, just start now. Because if we become better self-managers, we become a better manager of everything else in our life. But it's got to start with you. It's a fun process, but it's a never-ending process. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with how I manage myself. I think I do a good job of it, but I'm always looking for improvements. And I think any high achiever will want to do that. And just master the things that work, ditch the things that don't, and keep moving forward. And what worked last year maybe won't work this year. And I'm certainly finding that for myself. So it's an interesting topic, an interesting conversation. So if you want to connect with me, go to the mentaltoughnessandbodyshow.com, opt in for a free consultation, and I'd love to connect with you. In the meantime, stay safe, watch some tennis, watch the Australian Open, see that there's some people in the stands and they're being grateful for the players that they can get out and play again. It's a unique tournament this year. Stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow.